I found my wife's burner phone. She was blackmailing my brother. I never thought I'd be the guy digging through my wife's secrets, but here I am 38, staring at a phone that isn't hers, wondering how my life turned into a damn soap opera. It all started with a gut punch I didn't see coming, a second phone, hidden in her gym bag, buzzing like a trapped hornet while she showered upstairs. I'm Ryan, used to sell cars, now I manage a small auto shop, nothing fancy, just enough to keep the lights on in our suburban house outside a rainy city. Married 12 years to Jenny, short for Jennifer, 40, a freelance graphic designer with a sharp tongue and a laugh that could melt ice. She's the planner, the one who keeps our chaos in line, bills paid, dinners cooked, vacations booked. Me? I'm the laid-back one, or I was, until that phone lit up with a text I couldn't unsee. My brother, Nick, 35, single, a mechanic who bounces between jobs and bad decisions, popped into my head as I stood there, frozen, the screen blowing in my palm. Nick and I aren't tight, haven't been since he crashed my first car at 17 and blamed me, but he's family, the kind you tolerate at holidays. Jen's never liked him much, calls him a leech, says he's got sticky fingers. Fair, she caught him pocketing cash from her purse once, years back, and never let it go. So why was his name flashing on this phone, the secret little burner she'd stashed away? I didn't read it, not yet, just shoved it back in the bag, my hands sweaty, my mind racing. Was she cheating? Was Nick in trouble? Or was it something worse? The shower cut off upstairs, her humming drifting down, and I plastered on a smile as she padded into the kitchen in her robe, hair dripping. Hey, babe, she said, grabbing a glass from the cabinet, oblivious. I nodded, throat tight, the buzz of that phone still echoing in my ears. 12 years, 2 miscarriages, a mortgage, we'd built something solid, or so I thought. Nick, though, he's a wild card, always has been. Last Christmas, he showed up drunk, crashed on our couch, and Jen barely spoke to him. Now this. I didn't sleep that night, just lay there, her breathing steady beside me, wondering what she was hiding and why Nick's name was tangled up in it. By morning, I knew I couldn't ask her straight. Not yet. I'd find out myself, dig into whatever mess she'd buried, because if Jen was keeping secrets, they weren't staying secret long. Saturday morning hit gray and damp, the kind of day where the clouds hang low and heavy, like they're pressing down on every choice you've ever made. Jen was out, said she had a client meeting across town, so I grabbed her gym bag from the hall closet where she'd left it after her shower discovery last night. That burner phone was still there, a cheap flip model, scuffed in black, tucked under a rolled-up towel. My pulse kicked up as I flipped it open, the screen cracked but alive. No lock. Either she was sloppy or didn't think I'd snoop. I went straight to the texts, and there it was, Nick's name, a dozen messages back and forth, but half of them were gone. Deleted, like someone had scrubbed the start of the conversation clean. What was left hit me sideways. You owe me, Nick, $500 by Monday or I tell him everything, one said, timestamped 3 days ago. His reply, I'm trying, Jen. Don't do this. Another from her, yesterday, time's up. Pay or deal with Ryan. My mouth went dry. Tell me what? Pay for what? Nick's always been broke, borrowed $50 from me last month, still hasn't paid it back, but this was different. This was Jen, my Jen, leaning on him hard, and it didn't sound like a loan. I scrolled up, hunting for the beginning, but the oldest message was just Nick's I'll get it, I swear, from a week back. No context, no clues, just threats and panic. Was she blackmailing him? Over what? My head spun. Nick's a screw-up, sure, but Jen's no saint either. She's got a temper, holds grudges like they're gold. That time she caught him lifting cash from her purse, she didn't just yell, she iced him up for months, made sure I knew he was trash. Maybe this was payback, some long game I'd missed. Or maybe it was worse, maybe they'd crossed a line I couldn't imagine. I didn't call Nick, didn't text Jen, couldn't tip my hand yet. If she was hiding this, she'd lie, and Nick's never been straight with me either. I needed proof. I pocketed the burner, grabbed my laptop, and started digging. Her main phone was with her, but I had her laptop password, same one she's used since we met. I logged in, checked her bank accounts, nothing weird, just our usual bills. Her email was clean too, all client stuff and spam. But that burner meant something, and those gaps in the text screamed secrets. I drove to Nick's place an hour out, a rundown apartment over a garage, thinking I'd catch him off guard, but he wasn't there. Neighbors said he'd been gone all week, working some temp gig. I sat in my truck, staring at that phone, the words "tell him everything" looping in my skull. By dusk, I was back home, burner hidden in my toolbox, Jen still out. She walked in at 8, all smiles, talking about her client over takeout. I nodded, ate, kept my face blank. Inside, I was boiling. Whatever she was pulling with Nick, I'd unravel it myself, step by step, until I knew what everything meant. Sunday blurred into a haze of coffee and suspicion. Jen was home all day, parked at her desk with a freelance project, humming like nothing was off. I played along, fixed the leaky sink, mowed the lawn, while that burner phone sat heavy in my toolbox, its texts gnawing at me. Tell him everything. What the hell did that mean? By noon, I couldn't take it. I needed Nick's side. He wasn't answering his cell, so I drove back to his place, an hour of rain-soaked highway giving me too much time to think. This time, he was there, hunched over a beer on his sagging couch, grease stains on his jeans from whatever gig he'd picked up. "Hey, Ree," he said, barely looking up, voice flat. I didn't sit, just stood in his doorway, arms crossed. "What's Jen got on you?" I asked, cutting straight to it. His head snapped up, eyes wide, beer sloshing. "What?" "Don't bullshit me," I said, sharper. "I saw texts. She's got you by the balls, Nick, $500 or she tells me something." "What is it?" He cursed, set the bottle down hard, and rubbed his face. "She's lying, man. She's screwing me over, says I slept with her, wants cash to keep quiet." My stomach flipped. "Slept with her? You?" He stood, pacing, hands up. "Never happened, Ree. She's pissed, says I owe her for that cash I took years back, plus some fight we had. She made it up, swears she'll tell you I banged her if I don't pay. I'm scared you'll kill me, so I've been scraping money together." I stared, blood pounding in my ears. "Jen and Nick? No way." He's a mess, skinny, rough, not her type, but her grudge against him was real. That purse incident stuck with her. She'd called him a thief for years. Was this revenge? Greed? "She's bluffing," Nick said, voice cracking. "She's nuts, wants me gone, wants cash." I didn't touch her, I swear. I wanted to believe him, Nick's a liar, but not about this, not with that panic in his eyes. Jen, though, she's calculating. Could she fake it, twist him up for spite? "When this start?" I asked. "Month ago," he said. "She cornered me at your place, said I'd regret crossing her." Next day, text started. I nodded, mind racing. "Don't tell her I know," I said, heading out. Back home, Jen was still at her desk, oblivious. I smiled, asked about her day, but inside I was split. Nick's story fit her venom, but it didn't add up clean. If she lied, why? If she didn't, how'd I miss it? I couldn't trust either of them. Nick's a flake, Jen's a vault. That night, I decided, no more guessing. I'd dig deeper, find proof, because one of them was full of it, and I wasn't living with this fog. Monday slammed into me like a hangover I didn't earn, Nick's shaky denial and Jen's cool humming from the night before twisting knots in my gut. She was gone by 8, tossing at client day, back late over her shoulder as she grabbed her keys and bolted. The house fell silent, just the drip of a faucet and my own ragged breathing. I wasn't sitting on this. I had to know what Jen was really pulling with Nick, lie or not. I yanked that burner phone from my toolbox, its cracked screen blaring at me like a dare. I scrolled the texts again, her threats, his begging, but the gaps mock me. No proof, just words. I needed more, something concrete. Her laptop was my first hit, same old password, one she'd used since we met. I logged in, skimmed her emails, client pitches, spam, nothing juicy. Then I dug into her cloud backups, hunting deleted files. One folder popped up, trashed a month back, restored with a click. An audio clip, 6 weeks old. I hit play, and Jen's voice sliced through, calm, sharp. "You think Ryan'll forgive you, Nick, $500 by next week, or I tell him everything." Nick's reply was shaky. "I didn't do it, Jen, stop this." Her laugh hit next, icy, pay, or he believes you did. My stomach turned, it was her, no doubt, twisting the knife, but it wasn't enough. Talk's cheap, I needed hard evidence. I raided her gym bag again, empty except for that damn phone. Then it hit me, our backdoor security cam, a cheap model we'd stuck up after some punk smashed a window years ago. Jen ignored it, but I'd synced it to my phone. I opened the app, scrolled back, weeks of us trudging in and out, then October 15th, Nick's rusted truck rolled up, 3 p.m., Jen letting him in. Grainy footage showed her in a tank top, him in a hoodie, arguing in the kitchen. She jabbed his chest, he flinched, then she grabbed his arm, yanked him close, too close. He hesitated, she smirked, and they headed upstairs. My pulse hammered, they went to our bedroom. 20 minutes later, he stumbled out, face red, her trailing, yelling something I couldn't hear. No sound on the cam, but the way she'd touched him, the way he'd frozen, it wasn't just a fight. I rewound, zoomed, her nails on his back, his stumble like he wasn't pushing her off. Had they? I couldn't breathe. Nick swore she'd made it up, but this looked real, too real. I needed more. I drove to his place, an hour out, the footage looping in my head. He wasn't there, neighbors said he'd split for work. Back home, I checked our bedroom, nothing obvious, no stray socks or condoms, but Jen's meticulous. She'd cover tracks. By dusk, I was pacing, piecing it together, Jen's grudge, Nick's panic, that cam. She'd slept with him, or staged it, and now she was bleeding him dry. I couldn't trust his word or her smile. Proof was staring me down, and I'd confront her tonight, rip the truth out, whatever it cost. Jen walked in at 9, rain slicking her coat, a takeout bag swinging from her hand like it was any other Monday. "Hey, babe," she said, kicking off her boots, voice light as if she hadn't spent the day hiding a bomb. I was at the kitchen table, burner phone in one hand, laptop open with that security footage paused, Nick stumbling out our door, her behind him. My chest was tight, my head pounding from hours of digging, watching, doubting. She set the bag down, glanced at me, and froze. "What's up with you?" she asked, brow creasing. "I didn't plan it, just broke." "How could you?" I yelled, slamming the burner on the table so hard it skidded. She jumped, eyes wide. "Ryan, what this?" I barked, flipping it open, shoving the texts in her face, her threats, "Nix please. You're blackmailing my brother, Jen. Saying he slept with you, how could you do this to me?" My voice cracked, raw, tears stinging as I stood, towering over her. She went still, pale, then crossed her arms. "You snooped," she said, flat. "Damn right I did." I roared, hitting play on the laptop, grainy Nick, her pulling him upstairs. "I saw this October 15th, you and him, in our bed. He says you're lying, framing him for cash, but this? This looks real. Tell me the truth now." She stared at the screen, then me, and her mouth twisted into something ugly, not fear, not shame, just cold. "You wanna know?" she said, stepping closer. "Yeah, I slept with him. Once. And I've been milking him since." My knees buckled, I grabbed the counter, breath gone. "What?" "After you bailed him out last year," she said, voice low, "gave him that $1,000 he never paid back, I was done. He showed up here, drunk, whining about his life. I was pissed at you, at him, so I let it happen. Next day, I told him I'd tell you unless he paid. He's been coughing up cash ever since." I stared, numb. "You screwed my brother to spite me?" She shrugged. "You keep saving him, Ryan, he's a leech. I wanted him to hurt, and you to see it." "Nick said you made it up," I choked. "He's lying," she snapped. "He went alone, didn't fight me off. Check your precious footage." I rewound, her grip, his stumble. He hadn't pushed back. She was right, he'd caved. "You're both disgusting," I said, voice breaking. "You cheated, he betrayed me, and I'm the idiot stuck with it." She laughed, bitter. "You hit his screw-ups, enabled him, I just cashed in on it." My fists clenched, I wanted to smash something, scream, but I just grabbed my keys. "I'm out," I said, storming past her. Ryan, she started, but I was gone, door slamming behind me. I drove to Nick's, banged on his door, he opened, bleary-eyed. She told me, I said. You slept with her. He paled. I'd shut up, I cut him off. You're dead to me. I left, tires screeching. That night, I crashed in a motel, staring at the ceiling. Jen stayed home, probably counting Nick's money, her trap sprung. Nick's cut off, family won't touch him now, not after I told mom the short version. I moved an hour away next week, new job, new place, alone. Jen's still there, last I heard, freelancing, no apologies. We're both guilty, me for shielding Nick, her for weaponizing it, him for folding. That day, burner footage, her smirk broke us all. No forgiveness, no closure, just 3 lives split apart, dragging the mess wherever we go.